I am Tone, the founder and CEO of Culture Intelligence, and this is a global CultureCast. Our ambition is to find global culture intelligent leaders willing to share their insight and experience in how better culture can make better business and societies. Now, today we will focus on the oil industry, and this industry is undergoing major change right now, and the energy transformation has been described as the biggest industry paradigm shift in Norwegian history. To understand not only what the industry is dealing with, but also reflect over Norway's role in the global energy business, we have actually managed to hunt down one of the key players in industry right now. He has a long record of exciting roles. He has been the mayor of Stavanger. He's the author of the book Trust and Collaboration. He has been rewarded the NPF Award for his dedication to the industry, and now he's busy with planning the next ONS conference in 2024. Welcome to us, Chairman and CEO of ONS, Leif Johan Sevland.
Thank you, Tone. So pleased to be together with you today.
It's great to have you here. I know you're extremely busy, and I was so excited when I saw the news about what the next ONS will be around, because that will be also including a lot of talk about leadership. And so today, I think we're going to talk about the business and the culture and the leadership. But before we jump in there, please share some of your history. And it seems to me you have dedicated a life to the oil industry, but that's not totally the case, is it? Or is it?
Not totally, but I have been part of the energy industry for many, many years. As you mentioned, as mayor of Stavanger for 16 years. Before that, as a young politician, my first meeting with the oil industry was with the former Elf in the cantina in Dusavika. With the Young Conservatives, must have been in 78 or something like that.
Okay.
That has been an ongoing love story. When I served as mayor for 16 years, I met a lot of the companies, got familiar with industry, got to learn the industry in a very, very good way. Also had a pleasure to serve as president of the World Energy Cities Partnership, a cooperation between leading energy cities around the world for 7 years. I have been following the industry, learn the industry, being proud of the industry, and today hosting the industry at ONS for the next time, 2024.
Oh, this is really full circle, isn't it? It's all the bases are loaded with some of your experience and insight. So if we look at the energy sector, my understanding just from looking at it now from the outside, no longer being on the inside, I'm thinking this must be like a totally disruptive, challenging place to be right now with both energy demand and also the sustainability concern and a lot of the things that goes on in between.
Yeah.
How would you explain what's up in the industry right now?
I told you it's a good question. It's a really good question, and it's fantastic times. But as you're saying, it's both disrupting and new challenges is coming ahead, and it's also a very special time about the war in Ukraine, the Russian war in Ukraine, the energy need for Europe, and also actually that the energy Europe is getting from other countries than Russia is mainly energy being planned to go to other countries which didn't have the ability to buy that energy. So it's a complicated situation. As I could see for the time being, in Norway and the Norwegian continental shelf, extremely high activity that's going to last for quite a few years. We do whatever we can to secure Europe with Norwegian gas, and there is a high activity with a lot of new fields coming up and running. And then we, at the same time, we are going through a fantastic shift, actually, where people, talking about culture, people have been working with oil for years. Suddenly they're working with energy, and suddenly they're also part of the renewable chain. And I see the way to handle this is very impressive. This is proud people. If you go to Aibel in Haugesund, one example, been producing oil and gas platforms for years, And now, of course, they do that as well, but they have so many offshore wind projects ongoing. I think here you could see, just outside my window, I could see Rosenberg Werft, the yard in Stavanger. When they started 100 and something years ago, they didn't make offshore wind platforms, I could assure you. They have been through whatever it should be. And the new times are coming. The times are changing, as Bob Dylan said. And something about actually making me proud is their ability to transfer as quick as they do. And at the same time, they're still going on with the oil and gas activity. So it's a fantastic time. It's busy. We have a duty to serve Europe with gas. At the same time, we also need to transfer because we are polluting the world in one way, and we can't do that anymore. We need to change, and we need to do the changes as fast as no one ever had done before. And then we should actually have the identity, the proudness of the people working with the industry. I think it's well kept and work well, but it must be a challenge for the people being out there.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really good scan across all the challenges, I think, and what you said, the people part of this must be very difficult. And I'm thinking about the leaders, because we work, with leaders, and they have some small change going on in their business, but this is like a complete breakthrough of how they used to run the business and what's now required for the future. So,
Yeah.
so if you were an oil executive right now in Norway, what would go on in your mind? What do you think what are they discussing in executive teams right now?
I think they're discussing actually the long-term consequences, the long-term thinking. It's going to be a real high activity for the next 3, 4, 5 years with the oil and gas projects ongoing. At the same time, we are transferring to the offshore wind, which is going to be a game changer. A lot of activity, a lot of things to do. Hydrogen, CCUS, etc., etc. I think what they're discussing is that one side, because we are going to produce oil and gas for many, many years, many years. But one side, we should actually keep the technology, keep the competence, keep the good people within the oil projects, and also how to transfer that to the renewable the sector, and at the same time being able to do the technology progress as we have been doing, the innovation we have been doing with the oil and gas project for many years. How could we keep also the good people, the clever people, the smart people, that they don't leave the oil industry but continue to be there, and at the same time work with the other issues, the other part of the sector. I think that's a tricky situation for many companies right now, and they need actually to work with it and to be sure to have the best people boarded on all sectors.
And this must be a great challenge, because we did a culture check on some of the industry last summer, and compared it to the young professional culture. And of course, there are gaps there between the traditional oil industry and what's coming in, like you said, the attract and keep the good people. And if you were a young graduate and wanted to looked at the oil industry, what do you think you're seeing?
I see an extremely sophisticated business with great people, responsible people, good leadership. They have systems. They're used to work in a very good way. So I would have felt comfortable to continue with the oil and gas industry for many years, and also knowing if I wanted to have a shift within 10 years, 20 years, I could do so quite easily to transfer, because it's very much the same thing being needed in renewables. And what the oil and gas industry, and I know you are a former Exxon employee, I'm quite sure you heard the word systems a few times
Yes,
when you were
a few times.
yeah, but it's unbelievable. It's so fantastic to see the systems being developed uh,
Yeah.
and how it's been handled, how it's been worked, and knowing the competence, knowing the understanding of these issues must be extremely valuable for all parts of the energy sectors.
Yeah, and that's transferable also to other industries, of course,
Indeed.
if you have some experience. And that's my experience actually, Life. because it's one of the things that I always talk about when I'm seeing new customers, that the business training from the oil industry is really also accepted as a proof of concept, actually,
Yeah.
being in the culture and leadership field right now. So it's really interesting what you're saying, that this must be very attractive for young graduates as well.
Plan the work the plan.
Well said.
Yeah.
So if again back to, I'm really interested in the executives in the business right now, and how they will distribute their focus and their resources in the people issues, while increasing the effectiveness and efficiency of the production. That must be quite a polarization. How much time should I use spending on attracting the young people, and how much should I really crank the engine to get the most out of what's down there in time?
Yeah. I
How's that balance,
I
do you
think we
think?
have wise leaders seeing the paradox. If they just press one issue and not the other one, they don't have the balance which they need in the companies. So I'm quite sure that they try to, in one way, build up new generation, young leaders, get them up and going in the system, and at the same time they also have the working with the projects as usual, and being able to hand this.
Yeah.
So I hope, and I'm quite sure that the industry have learned from earlier times, where there has sky high expectations, high pressure. Everything should be done extremely fast. I think that they see now that we need to have two thoughts at the same time, and that we need to work through what this plans. The activity in oil and gas will be very high, but at the same time, they know that if it's too high, we will have the expense challenges coming up again, and uh, not a good reputation for the industry. So I think the wise leaders see that here we need to do this in a proper way, and also be sure that we are recruiting young leaders, young people to the industry, and keep them here.
Yeah, and that then we're into the topic of culture, because if you can present the company, of course, in a culture that is attractive to the young professionals, it will be an easier job than if you are not. So how do you experience the leaders that you talk to are focused on culture itself?
More and more, more and more. I could
Could-
mention one example to you, Tone. At ONS,
Yeah,
you quite often you could find whatever. We had 1,000 speakers last time, and we have a lot of presentations, technical presentation, where to drill, how to drill, and where not to drill, and how not to drill, etc., etc. Being very popular sessions. But one of the most popular sessions we had at the ONS conference last time was about leadership. Yeah,
really.
where we have the leaders coming in, telling their story, being open, have a broad and good discussion, a different experience, the way to go, etc., etc. So I think we have actually, and when I met the industry at first, it was a totally different industry. Today, it's professional, wise leaders, open mind. They will like to discuss. They would like to have an open debate about their role, how it should work. They're involving the young people more and more. We see the young people is getting a more central position, close to the CEO, using them as an advisor. But there's a huge change in this industry has been for the last decades, and it's a good change, a very good change.
It's really exciting to focus and keep your finger on the pulse there. And
And
and is there?
sorry, Tony, but may I add one thing? I'm
Yeah,
mentioning ONS. We had more than 4,000 young people at ONS last time.
yeah,
Going to be a part of this industry within a few years, I hope. Uh,
yeah.
those people is a real asset. They are
Mm,
so clever. They are so ambitious. They have so good background, and this is also people knowing that if they get a leader, just to tell them to do whatever they should do, they won't join it. They would like to be a
yeah.
part of it. So leaders for today should listen to the leaders for tomorrow. And I feel when I meet all these companies, shouldn't name anyone because then that will be a mistake. But if I meet the leaders, they are extremely upset to be a part of that, to bring the young people in, have a team, work together. it's a different industry than it was when you left, I would suppose.
Definitely, and for the better, of course. And it resonates with some of the work we have done. We have interviewed young professionals also. And the last the project we did is I interviewed a couple of the talents, and they said, we're on the internship, and if we don't get meaningful work in our rotation across the company, we simply want to move on, because in our minds, as a young professional, what you want is really real challenges, and not just be set to learn something. Learning isn't enough. You also have to provide and present and be present in a way that is meaningful for the company. So it's a really game changer, I think, in identifying those factors in the talent culture. And that is something that I think that the leaders have to be highly aware of. And they probably are.
Yeah, I feel so. And
Yeah.
it's been a lot of changes in the industry for the last years. And quite often, actually, if I'm maybe very, very honest, quite often I actually see that the leaders is actually taking part of this in an earlier stage than the rest of the organization. The leaders see the need and being in forefront. So my experience is just good with that part of the game.
Yeah. So how about the traditional oil and gas engineer, the traditional worker that's been there as long as joined there probably when I joined, or sometime around then? What's going on? Because it's not only about the talent and young talent, it's also about
Mm.
providing and making the transformation true for everybody.
Yeah, and also they should feel. And this is, in Stavanger we have a saying, "Han far og de, father and them."
Okay.
Those who built actually the rigs in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, those being working with a Jotun ship, just next to my window here, and they should feel the proudness of being a part of the industry, just as much in the future as they have done in the past. And they should feel the same proudness if it's an offshore wind vessel leaving the yard, or is it if the Jotun ship leaving.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely important that we are not taking out the oil and gas. We need the oil and gas in the future as well. It must be cleaner, much cleaner, and there is not need for as much oil as it was, but we need it. It's going to be a part of the energy mix. And what they have been doing is extremely good. And what we need to do for the future is their part of the mission is actually to make sure that to make new systems, new upgrading, new updating, to be sure that they have the same kind of fashionable technology as we always
Yeah.
had. And we need to transfer their knowledge to the other industry as well, which is going to be
Yeah.
it's a seamless transformation. They have done something great, and they're going to do something even greater for the future.
Yeah, I would actually like to hear leaders talk like that when it not only comes to technology, but also when it comes to culture.
Mm.
It says we have now built this culture, and it's transferable to other parts of the Norwegian industry because we managed the changes, and we met the new requirements and all that. So I'm quite impatient to see culture as a key topic for executives in the oil industry
Mm.
and not only the executives but all leaders, to say we have something, we know what we have, we know what we need, we're building the new name of the game for our business.
And also,
When do you
sorry,
when do you think that's gonna? When are we gonna hear conversations like that in the equal way as you do with technology and knowledge?
yeah. Now I hope it's coming through, and I also hope, because normally in leadership we have a shift of leaders uh, quite often, and I think one of the most important things is actually that the new leader is not a new company. It's not a new culture. It's a new person coming in. And there are so many good things who have been created in the company in the past, which should be actually, which always will be taken as a part of the future. So actually, this must be a part of the story.
Yeah,
That's the way you are making a kind of a epoch and not an episode. Uh,
yeah,
and I think that we do it when we're building cities. We do it when we build universities. We need to do the same when we're building companies.
yeah. Great. I would love to see that in a more even more structured way when it comes to the business culture, which is the core, of course, of how business evolves. So, how about Norway as a global player? What role do we really play out in the energy business globally
Mm.
right now?
For the time being, we are everyone's friend in Europe, having the ability to supply with gas. And we have been a reliable and supplier of gas and oil for many, many years, and going to do so in the future as well. Then I think actually Norway has another position in the world, which is not well. It's well known in the inner circle, but not in the common sense. And the technology we are delivering to the world is fantastic. We are on the forefront of innovation. We do everything in a totally different way than many of the other countries. And I think that's something which we should be really proud of. But the other thing I have seen, and now I need to mention one company because that's the company I have seen most working abroad with this. That's Equinor, and that's the way actually they also take the Norwegian culture with them, the leadership, the philosophy, how to behave. All this part of the game is extremely important. I have seen that, and I could have, of course, mentioned other companies, but the one I have seen most and visit most is Equinor stations around the world. And it's a kind of behavior.
Mm.
Also, when I met a former assistant to one of the country manager of Equinor on an airplane, and she told me about, and she had been working for different companies, and she said, "But this is the first time ever I've been invited to a private dinner at home of my CEO. He invited me together with all the other ones. I normally just was an assistant." But that way of behaving, that way of working together with people, that's the Norwegian style. We would like to
Mm.
involve people. We are honest people. We would like to work in a good way with the staff and the resources. Uh,
Mm.
and those feedback I have got there makes me proud. So continue to bring out Norwegian gas to the
Yeah,
world, to Europe especially, technology, but also the legacy we do have as Norwegians should be an
yeah.
even more important part of it.
This is so exciting because if we take that one step further,
Yeah,
we could imagine that we are putting requirements to the people we will deal with in business to say, if you are partnering with us, we have a certain standard requirements for how your culture and leadership should be, not only your technology and your knowledge and your economy. So how do you think, how far away
uh,
from doing that are we?
and I know it's quite easy to make a standardization of technology. It's not the same about leadership, but we should have a kind of in our mindset a kind of standard.
Yeah,
Rules, behavior
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
rules. I think that's a very good idea which we should work with. Need to be different
yeah,
from each companies, but I think we have something in Norway which I'm extremely proud of, and that's the way
yeah,
we behave, the way we have learned to work together, every one of us,
yeah, yeah.
and the meaning of each and one of the individuals is so important.
I'm working with some high leaders up in the Oslo University Hospital, and we are actually discussing what if we made a mindset passport or a culture passport, and your culture passport would allow you to do business with Norwegian companies and partners.
Mm.
However, if you don't meet the standards for the culture, you will be disregarded in this round at least until you have a certain ability to be a partner on the level that we want you to be.
Yeah.
How would something like that be possible in the oil industry?
I could imagine so. We need to start discussing. If it work or not, I'm the right person to say, but the idea need to be followed up. Uh,
Yeah,
and I had a friend who worked with in UK with a company. And that company had a lot of drivers. He went down to see the facilities for the drivers, and he saw that the cars was excellent, but the place they were stayed, during when they should have the lunch and everything was not in a good way at all. So he changed everything, and
yeah,
told me about the feedback he got from his colleague from the UK, which said, "Why did you spend money on that?" And he said, because that's about people, and they need actually exactly the same kind of facilities as we do for the leg, for the room, for the neck, whatever it should be. So we need to take care
Yeah.
of that. And then he told about this was not an fair to say that everyone applauded on it. But
Mm.
he continued with it, and it worked. And after a few years or so, everyone accepted that was the way to work. And this is
Oh, that is so exciting.
just a small detail, but it's about it's about behavior, and it's about
Yeah.
the role of Norway.
And the culture we are promoting. So this is a discussion I would really love to see coming to the point where we are actually front runners, not only in the industry, technology, and all that, but actually also to promote the Scandinavian or the Norwegian culture as a way of doing business. That would be so exciting. And then we have to talk about ONS 2024, because now you have set leadership as one of the four topics that the ONS 2024 will address. Tell me about how you landed in the four areas, and tell me more about what your thinking is.
Yes, of course, and we are so excited. It's 1 year and some months left, but it's a huge project, and we're working day from early morning to late evening to plan. And of course, climate. This is about how could we imagine that our leaders are sitting down, finding the solutions, how to bring the climate issue back to the table as the number one priority for what we are doing. And how to solve the challenges with Amazonas, the global warming, the CO2 emission, etc., etc. The second one, and this is not in ranking, but I'll be back with leadership as the last one, actually, because then I sum up the things. Technology, as we have spoken about, and technology also to bring down the CO2 emission. We need to work smarter to actually to be sure that our climate ambitions is coming true, and the technology is extremely important. Then, of course, security. We have a very terrible situation in Europe today with the Russian war in Ukraine. I didn't believe. I might have been naive. Of course, I have been naive, but I was not able to actually to imagine that we would have a full war going on in Europe in 2023. Civilized people should have been there. Civilized people don't work in that way. How can we actually bring leaders to the table? How could we discuss people in the countries? How could we work together to be sure that we don't see that kind of things anymore? And how could we actually be sure to secure each other? And then my reason mentioning leadership at the end of this is leadership is summing it up. Without good leadership, there won't be any climate solution in the world. Without good leadership, we are not able to be in forefront of new technology. And without good leaders, we won't have a safe world as we expected it should be. So it might be leadership on the, if I may say, on the global arena, on the world leaders, but it also might be leadership on the day-to-day basis. How is the energy industry opening up, diversification, different nationalities, different genders? How do we involve the young people in the real important decision? The young time is running. I'm 61 years old. And people, people entering the industry today might be 30 years, 35 years, 25 years. They should be the leaders of tomorrow within a few years. We need to actually involve them. They should be a part of it. It's not the kind, leadership is not that when you are leaving, a new person is coming in. Leadership is building people day by day to have them. So this is actually what we would like to see, and we would like to have examples from big companies, today's leaders, family-owned companies, the leadership. We might be having people who have been taking a risk as a leader, going in forefront. We might have people who have failed. That's also part of the game. And of course, we need young voices being there. What do I actually expect from my leader of tomorrow? Which kind of person, which kind of attitude, which kind of openness. I'm not a young person today. We have a young ONS young committee. I met them last week. Fantastic people, fantastic. They won't sit for 30 years, wait to be the leader, and then in the meantime just smile and be happy. Of course, they will be a part of what's happening today. They would like actually that their visions should be implemented in the company. See, and how does that work in a company? And I think we have good examples and not as good examples. And we need to talk together, and we need to be open. Leadership is nothing that you're going into a cabinet, to a closet, and then you talk about leadership. You do it in an open room.
And right now, I'm imagining. I changed actually. You changed my picture right now about ONS in a minute there, because I'm hearing that you are much more on the society agenda than on the energy agenda. So is that a conscious this decision that ONS now is a more of a society impactful arena than just supportive for the where it started or Northern Seas, offshore Northern Seas conference?
It should all be. Energy should all be a part of this, and we are serving the energy industry, but we are also very eager to open up our discussions. And the energy sector is not a bubble by itself; it's a part of what's happening in the world. And we need to be a part of it. So we are involving, taking in companies, individuals from different parts of the society, and we would like to talk together. And we have a special program named Energy Society, where actually energies meet the society and the society meet energy industry. Also be
There you are.
important. And you have been a part of it, I know.
This is wonderful, and it's really changing the game of, at least in my part, on what ONS is and the energy sector and Norway's role. And so, just coming to the end here, Leif, if we were to design a culture passport, let's just imagine that we have designing a culture passport for people who will play an important part in the oil industry in the future. What would some of the requirements, you've already talked about openness, you talked about pride, you talked about presence and meaning. What else would be some of the requirements in a culture passport?
Maybe respect.
Yes, for sure. That's where all starts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything starts with a mutual respect, and then you can build from there.
Yes.
Yeah. That's definitely. What else?
I think the recipe, we need to work with it, but this is actually when we have values. This is about our core values. We're actually taking out, and we are using them. And the same we do it in. If I'm working with a conference committee, if I'm working with whatever it should be, I have values for my work, how I should be.
Exactly.
And especially when we're going abroad, I think that's something which we could take, bring with us.
Exactly.
Something to export. Remember, Norwegian missionaries, they did this when they left.
They did, but in a religious way. So maybe this is our time to go in a business perspective way. This is truly exciting in the way you explain it. So, at the very end, what are some of your values that you are using when you are in this extremely busy and disruptive field?
And we have different kind of roles. Of course, we should be innovative, we should be forward looking, etc., etc. But also to behave is one very important value for us, and behave in a proper way. Whatever ONS is doing, whatever representatives is doing, it should be about trust. We are decent people, and we shall behave.
And trust was the topic for last year's ONS. So my talk was about trust in the culture, but and now it's leadership. So we are. I see you are shaping the business in a really exciting way to make all this happen. So if you were to send one good piece of advice out to all the young people, let's refocus on them. What would it be?
Join the industry and let your voice be heard.
Oh, nice. I love the second part. So very good. Thank you so much, Leif Johan. And I hope you stop by next time you're in Oslo.
Would be a pleasure.
And I would love to see you in ONS 2024. So let's keep in contact on that. And if anyone wants to look at and poll for the feedback of this podcast, just answer the poll in the chat. So thank you so much for being with us. I would send you the recording and then see you in this field.
Thank you, Tone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.